something that's done here that's done nowhere else.
Right.
And that whole idea of honoring sportsmanship and class and character in sports and doing what we like to think is sort of like an ESPYs-like show to celebrate it is unique. It was created in St. Louis. It's been built in St. Louis. And now you have this wonderful sort of world-class production that's done here. It's the only non-live sporting event that is televised, originating in St. Louis.
Hey guys, Alex Rich.
Ben Corimba.
Hey, we are excited to let you know that we have episodes of our podcast, Jews in the Lou, dropping every other week, and you're not going to want to miss. We have some great guests lined up.
Amazing. And while I have you, I want to thank the St. Louis Jewish Light for their incredible partnership and support of our podcast, St. Louis Jewish Light, doing amazing work for our community, keeping us informed with stories, with updates.
And visit stljewishlight.org. Subscribe to their newsletter. They'll keep you up to date on everything going on.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to thank a very special person that makes all of this possible. Michael Steinberg, who does so much for the community, also is a big part in making Jews in the Lou a thing that we're able to continue to do to bring you these unique stories time and time again. And we appreciate Michael Steinberg, everything he does for the community, the Jewish community here in St. Louis, and everything that Michael Steinberg does here for Jews in the Lou.
Feel free to eat. Seriously, eat, take a bite while it's hot, for real. Seriously, this is the bagels. Apparently, he flies them in from New York. Is that right? The bagels come from New York.
Yeah. I'm gonna get one before I go.
Oh, you got to for sure. So, yeah, it's been great. But you've been with the Sports Commission for how long now?
A long time.
I know, right?
It's 27 years now.
27 years. What was your journey to get there?
Yeah. So it took me 2 internships to get hired.
Okay.
But I'm a native St. Louis and grew up here, loving St. Louis, loving sports.
Yep.
And kind of my introduction to the Sports Commission was volunteering for the U.S. Olympic Festival in 1994. Were you even alive?
I was 3 years old then. That's awesome. Okay, so tell me about that.
And Olympic festivals don't exist anymore. But it was a big deal back in the time. It was like the first major event that the Sports Commission here did, and it really captivated the community. It was a 10-day event. It was wonderful. And so that sort of like ignited this interest in doing this type of work. So the end of my sophomore year in college.
And where were you at college?
Northwestern.
Okay.
In Chicago, Evanston. So
Big Ten guy, just like us.
Yeah. You're in
IU,
right?
of course.
Oh gosh, you're like
this year we're living on cloud 9 right now.
Losing your mind.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yes. Which I'd love to talk about the game against Penn State, but we'll
get that
aside. Yes.
We'll get there.
So at the end of my sophomore year, I was looking to do an internship here, and I ended up reaching out to the person that was running the organization at the time, the Sports Commission, a guy named Mike Dyer.
Okay.
He hired for an internship.
Unpaid internships, I get it.
Before I started, he got offered a job at the NBA. He was a big deal at the time because come off the successful Olympic Festival, NBA hires him. So I started the Sports Commission. The guy that brought me on is not there.
Right.
I end up writing the organization's newsletter, and toward the end of my internship, they hire Frank Viverito. So I have to go down and interview Frank for the newsletter. That's how we met.
That's how you met Frank.
That's how I met Frank, because I had to interview him. First, I had to forge the signature of the chairman on all the rejection letters for those that didn't get the job. Then I met Frank, and I just stayed in touch with them toward the end of college. When I was graduating, I reached out again. They didn't have anything, so I ended up working on a high school sports TV show in Chicago, which was a great experience in itself.
You knew you wanted to go into sports.
Yeah, I really wanted to go into sports broadcasting. That's what I was on student radio at Northwestern. I called the Citrus Bowl in my senior year when the Wildcats were playing in Tennessee. Got to do Northwestern basketball. And
I didn't know that.
Baseball.
That's awesome.
It was a blast.
Okay.
That's what I always wanted to go into.
Was broadcasting.
And then, I sort of discovered, hey, I don't want to go to somewhere in Montana and start
Right.
my first gig on
Right.
local TV or whatever. And when I had the summer off after the high school sports show had sort of ended its season, reached back out to Frank. This was the summer of '98, and they had a lot going on. And he said, yeah, we could use you. Come on down. It's just supposed to be for the summer.
Right.
Things went so well. And
Right.
here we are. Rest is history.
Did you ever think you'd be the president of the sports commission?
I mean, I didn't go into it.
You aspire. I mean,
that,
like
but
it's something, but it's something certainly you like were passionate about from early on and starting out. And it was like you've seen the possibilities of what not just sports has to offer, but like sports here in St. Louis. And a lot of what you guys do is outside of sports. Yeah, the focus is sports, but it's not like we're not talking. Because a lot of people probably don't even know what the sports commission is, right?
Yes.
And it's not the Cardinals, it's not the Blues, it's not the professional sports teams. It's more talk about it. It's more the other side of bringing the big key events that make St. Louis a hub for the region.
In a grand sense, we like to think of it as economic development.
Yep.
But the specific part of it is we're the entity that goes out and bids on those major events, creates events, bids on, and then once we land them, produces them, manages them for the region. So yes, we're very close with the Cardinals and the Blues and City SC, but we've got our own niche.
Yeah.
And that's trying to do major high-profile, high-impact, high-value events that will excite this community and bring people to the region and really showcase St. Louis nationally and internationally in the best positive light.
That's, I think, awesome because over the years we have had a lot of great events. You continue to bring the Frozen Four to St. Louis, and people don't know that is the Sports Commission doing those bids.
That's right.
So what goes into those? Like, who are the people that you're meeting with? How far in advance are those conversations taking place? Like, walk us through that a little bit.
A lot of it is relationships. It's really relationship building over the years, and I like to say showing up. So for a lot of the events that we're going after, years in advance, we try to be present, get to know the rights holders, but you want to show that we care and we get it. And so like the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, which we won the bid for 2026, we're about to host, went to Columbus in 2024 to rekindle that relationship, and that conversation kind of started the snowball to eventually put in a solid bid that got us the event. But the relationships only take you so far. You have to be really good in terms of packaging it all up. So when we submit a bid, it's collecting everything from the marketing plan for the event, the hotel package, the city package. All that goes into it, and then the financials, and that's the big piece. And it's where we struggle a little bit in St. Louis is competing financially against other markets, but all that gets thrown into the equation. And there you go, you submit the bid, and hopefully we got the best one.
Do you feel like there are a lot of things that you may have to, like, do you find yourself going in and the people you're sitting and having this conversation with, and they say, well, why St. Louis? Why we hear all these negative things about St. Louis, and then you go and you represent obviously the city and what we have to bring here. Ben would say the same. We're huge advocates for the city of St. Louis, and we see the potential and see the growth, and that it's a community that does show up for different things. How does that conversation go when you come across
So how you started describing it's not that way at all.
Right.
Like, this place has a great track record, and it's got a great reputation as a tremendous sports town, storied legacy, storied tradition, and a fan base and corporate community that steps up to support the events we host.
And an infrastructure and a city that is able to hold events like this. We are able to hold events like that. We have had Final Fours. We have had those things.
And so the only time, the times we fall short is just because the process is so competitive. There's so many great markets out there aggressively pursuing what we do. So it's like numbers. but it's rare that you sit down with, you have the groups we deal with, NCAA, the Olympic governing bodies, national governing bodies. They're not fixated on the stuff that we fret about locally.
Right.
Sure, they may see a downtown that may not be as active as, say, Nashville and Indianapolis. But all major metros kind of have their challenges.
Yeah.
We're one of it. And it's not to diminish. We got a ways to go. There's stuff we have to work on as a community here in St. Louis, but we certainly hold our own, and there is a confidence and level of trust and faith in St. Louis and those relationships that the events are going to thrive here. And they'll ask, they'll probably want some reassurance on, public safety, but that's the case of sort of any big city.
Any event that you're doing anywhere.
Going to go to.
Right.
So I think my bottom line that I tell people is, like, locally, our residents sort of are fretting over the thought of that way more than who we're working with to land events. Like, my biggest concern is just how we compete financially. We're bidding on events that often the math doesn't work out, and we need the public sector, which directly benefits through the tax revenue that's generated, to provide a little bit of help that allows these efforts to be viable.
So talk about, because raising money is obviously, you just said, a huge part of bringing these events to St. Louis. Is that something you do lean a lot on the community for? Is it just
more so than our competitors?
Because is the Sports Commission a
privately funded nonprofit?
Nonprofit, right? Yep. And I didn't want to speak out of turn, but
that's good.
So, but you're completely relying on those dollars to fund these things, where you do need the community's backing to bring massive events like this to St. Louis, right?
Exactly. And we're really lucky because our corporate community, business community here has always stepped up significantly.
Totally.
So we, compared to all of our peers across the country, we probably raised the most amount of money privately of any entity, because it's just the way we were set up, and it's the structure of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And so thankfully we have a tremendously supportive board and constituents and members.
Yeah.
And so that gives us the means to exist.
Right. It is because a lot of those corporate companies that are based here in St. Louis understand the importance. It's the same concept as, like, these are the people that are putting everything in to try to really make sure that St. Louis is set up for success, right?
Yes.
And I think that is, one of the biggest things that you guys do is the Sports Commission that a lot of people don't know is, like, how much you champion the city of St. Louis for these things, because I think that's what sets it apart. Like, when these events, talk about those events, like the figure skating, for example, or the wrestling, or the Frozen Four, talk about, like, what that does for the economy here in St. Louis when those events come here, because I'm certain that there's an uptick in everything that's going on in businesses. It brings people here, hotels. Talk about that, the impact of, like, what that has on the city.
We always like talking about the wrestling championships, NCAA wrestling, because this will be in 2027. It'll be the 10th time we've hosted that event,
which is got to be some sort of record for a national championship, right?
Yeah, but the impact is most significant because the predominant portion of the fans coming in are from out of town.
Right.
It's like 95% of the fans that are coming in for that event are coming from somewhere else.
Right.
And so that weekend, you walk around downtown, you see all the fans walking around with the cauliflower ears and all the colors of all the schools.
You can tell when they're in town.
Yes,
sure.
And same thing like the Frozen Four we host in April. It's the coolest thing. Like, all the teams in Division I hockey, there's only 4 that make it to the Frozen Four, but like every school's represent. You walk around and everybody's got a hockey jersey on from some school that plays NCAA hockey, and it's just a wonderful thing for downtown and the region because it infuses life and energy and vibrancy.
Yeah.
And the big thing too that I think it's easy to point to the economic impact. Everybody gets that, like there's great spending, for the Frozen Four, $20 million to the region. Fabulous. But I think there's also the element people sort of overlook is like the impressions that are left that people take home to their hometowns and the story they tell. And so they come here for the Frozen Four. They have a wonderful time. The city reflects really well on them. And with the Frozen Four, it's a lot of people from the Northeast and the upper Midwest. We did a survey and we figured out that of all the visitors coming, 45% were here for the first time. It was the first visit to St. Louis.
Wow.
We asked them.
You said there was 45%?
45% for the first time. The 80% were from out of town. Sorry, I'm throwing a lot.
No. Trust me. I like hearing these numbers because it's telling a story of you're bringing people here that haven't been here before.
Exactly. So 45% of those visitors hadn't been to St. Louis before. Of them, 74% said St. Louis exceeded their expectations. It's a nice number.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you think about that. It's like they have a great time here, and then they go back to Kalamazoo or Boston, or Providence or wherever.
Yep.
And they're telling their family and they're telling their friends, I just had a great time in St. Louis. What a wonderful place. And it just starts shaping a new narrative for us. And I think there's tremendous value over that. And then, just the media exposure you get, just being associated with positive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You take that, you take the impressions, you take the dollars, you put it all together. And I think there's a healthy, important impact that all this stuff has on our region.
What do you think is like the most not I don't know that promising is the right word, but the most like rewarding part of when you have an event like that or when you win a bid? Of course it's exciting that you win the bid, but when you're past the event and everything is a success, what do you I guess measure the success on? And for you, what is the most rewarding part of the entire process?
Yeah, I think it's the feedback piece that when you have the NCAA come in and, someone says, gosh, your group, the Sports Commission or Enterprise Center, the Blues, just fabulous to work with.
Yeah.
Like, that's really gratifying to hear. And then I think back to the Frozen Four because it was sort of our most recent big event we hosted, and just like starting the week off and doing a reception in the Foundry for the NCAA committee, and them coming there and like just everybody having a great time, and so it's like the first showcase of the city. And then you take them the Friday night in between the semifinals, they go to the ballpark in Busch Stadium and they're on the field and the chair of the committee gets to throw out the first pitch. It's like those moments where they have that experience of like, I like the people here. They're telling you this. I like the people. I like what you've done. Like, this shows well. This is impressive.
Yeah.
You feel like, okay, this is what we should be doing. That's the gratifying part is when our organization and our community and our partners create an experience that people walk away saying, St. Louis nailed it.
Do you think do you believe that like Midwest nice is like a real thing? Like, Midwest nice people. Like, I just recently, we were like, I was on my honeymoon in Italy, and it was funny because obviously they know like, oh, you're from the States, you're from America, but then they always can tell they're like, by the way you act, you're not necessarily like from New York, or you're not necessarily from like certain places where they just simply aren't, like, people aren't saying hello on the streets everywhere you go. And in St. Louis, it's a welcoming environment.
So I would say on that, there's a lot of truth to that. It's funny because I went to Philadelphia for the wrestling championships this year. I was actually amazed by how nice the people were. You hear the whole thing about throwing batteries at Santa Claus.
Yeah, they're out there, but
people in Philly. I was really impressed. Especially at the arena. Credit to them. So I'm not sure it's necessarily completely exclusive, but I think there is a level of care, of wanting to care about how you're perceived, the impression that's made and how people feel. That's what kind of rises to the top in the Midwest, and particularly in St. Louis. It's like maybe in Philly they don't care as much about what you think,
right?
But here
we care. I think that we
do.
want to leave you with a good taste in your mouth.
Exactly, and so that manifests itself in the effort that goes into creating that experience.
Yeah.
To where what I rattled off about the NCAA committee being here is like them walking away with that positive vibe. Is because we just care more.
Right.
It's like the theme that I want our bids to be going for is we just care more.
Yeah.
I've joked, our staff doesn't like this, but like the SEC has this thing, their slogan is, it just means more. And like, I think about that. It's like, for St. Louis, we just care more.
Yeah. But I do think it's like a very true statement. I would say taking it to like your, taking it back in life and your upbringing, and like, I want to talk a little bit about, like, do you feel this ties to your Jewish upbringing or your Jewish backgrounds or some of the traditions that you were brought up under? Talk about that a little bit and how you feel like maybe that has played a role in just being Jewish. I know like it's hard to like categorize it as to one thing, but I feel like as a Jewish person, when we do things, like we like to leave people with, hospitality is a big thing for us. Like we want you to leave and we want you to be happy and we want you to tell stories about how you had a great time and leave a good taste in your mouth. Do you feel like, your upbringing as a Jewish person in St. Louis has kind of fueled your fire to get to where you're at?
Yeah, religion for me is somewhat of a personal thing, so it's like hard to exactly articulate all that. I think it's more just the values that we've been taught growing up, that like that's the thing. And that's, I mean, maybe that's sort of the good bridge to the Musial Awards too, is sort of like the values that Judaism has instilled, sort of that kindness and the respect for others. I go on and on sort of, about those values, but that's where you just trying to treat people well.
And values is what we do talk a lot about, the values, the Jewish traditions, the values, and like that it's more than just religion. Yeah, it really is.
I think here's the thing, just sort of hit me, it's the sense of community, not just Jewish thing. That's one of the best things about St. Louis is the sense of community. That stands out. It's a lot of other places, but back to the Jewish upbringing, there's that too. If like maybe that's part of why I have this attachment to St. Louis. It's to a fault. It's sometimes the word you go to high school piece. But it's still like growing up and like still having people I went to preschool, Banana preschool, still around, and like running into somebody that says, "I remember you when you like one of the teachers." Saying, like there's something that's like heartwarming, heartening about that is these connections. Some people might say it's like very small townish, but I always think of St. Louis as I'd say small big town as opposed to big small town, but whatever. But just that idea of like, I was talking to like Mike Bush, for instance. Like Mike, like I known since in the mid '90s, and like I was a counselor for his son at Green Trail Sports Camp. So like, there's all these links that. You can probably relate to this as much as anyone. Like these links that we have, whether it's just from growing up here or it's also the Jewish link or whatever. That just makes it special. And it makes you sort of comfortable. Here. And I know for many, sometimes it's not. If you're new here, sometimes it's not comfortable. But when you talk about upbringing, that's kind of like what I think about is going back to that sense of community, whether it's the congregation you belong to, the school you went to, whatever.
Right.
Strong sense of community.
Yeah, and I think that it is a good segue to the Musial Awards, because the Musial Awards are coming up here at the end of the month. And it's a national thing. But it brings people here and kind of embodies sportsmanship, but sportsmanship ultimately, I think, also embodies St. Louis and the community and the connection. So it kind of fits perfectly where it's even better that this all happens in St. Louis, because it's a feel-good story, and there's so many different stories out there that people don't know or don't hear about or that are overlooked, right? I think the big thing with the Musial Awards, that you guys really do a great job of is, yes, you highlight a lot of those really awesome stories that like make the news. They are viral stories because, there's, I wouldn't even know where to begin. There's just been so many heartwarming stories over the year. I think one a couple of years ago was the horse.
Cody's Wish.
And it was like, this is one of the most like heartwarming stories, like sad, touching, but like at the end it brings you so much joy. And I think you guys do a great job of highlighting that, but like highlighting the things that don't really get a lot of recognition. And you're able to bring all of those people here together in St. Louis to celebrate that.
He knew that we would have a horse as an honoree.
Right,
we
right.
did.
But I guess talk about the Musial Awards as a whole. Stan the Man, what he means to St. Louis, why this started, how it's evolved into what it is, because it didn't used to be this.
Right.
Now you're nationally televised. Yeah. Now Al Roker's coming in town and he's a part of the event. Talk about the Musial Awards, how it's developed into what it is.
Yeah, and this is our 20th year hosting the show. And it started off in a ballroom at the Marriott Grand under a different name, and we've just been able to grow it over the years. And it's just what you said. It's like we think of St. Louis as, this is the place where the fans cheer the opposing player that makes the great play.
Yeah.
Like this, it just fits us, the Midwestern hospitality and so forth. And then you combine it with the Musial name. And credit to Mark Lombardi and Tom Eschen when he was at Maryville University, but Mark especially in Maryville with sort of the idea of, they originally said, what if we name an award? Back then it was called the National Sportsmanship Awards. That was the name of the event. They said, what would you think of naming an award for Stan? Mm-hmm. Like, how about we just rename the event in Stan's honor? Because that makes the most sense. And, we think of, it's almost like a brand in a way. It's like the Emmys, the Oscars, the Heisman, the Musials.
Yes.
And it just fits so well. And Stan himself, of course, is there anyone better when it comes to the virtues and ideals of sportsmanship? I mean, he represented it all. He was the embodiment. And so in 2012, we announced we were calling it the Musial Awards. Back then, we were actually in a theater at Edward Jones's headquarters. It was the 800-seat theater.
Really?
Helped us bridge the gap from going from Hotel Ballroom to eventually Stiefel Theater.
Yeah.
Here we are in 2019. We got the show on CBS. So the thing has evolved. But, the big thing I like to point out is it's just like something that's done here that's done nowhere else.
Right.
And that whole idea of honoring sportsmanship and class and character in sports and doing what we like to think is sort of like an ESPYs-like show to celebrate it is unique. It was created in St. Louis. It's been built in St. Louis. And now you have this wonderful sort of world-class production that's done here. It's the only non-live sporting event that is televised, originating in St. Louis. It's a nice claim to fame.
It's incredible the stories that you find. You talked about Mike Bush a little bit, and he travels around throughout the year to gather these stories, right?
Yep.
So what goes on behind the scenes? Like, obviously there's so much that goes on to putting these events on. Like, how do you find these stories? How do you how do you get to the right people? Like how do you bring this all to life?
Yeah, and it gets to be more and more of a challenge because it's like, how do you top the previous year? And how do you want to have diversity of sport and age and male, female, and not keep repeating. It's like, how many times can you do the story of the cross-country runner falling and being picked up by another runner, which we're going to do again this year, just because we haven't done it in a few years. And it's pure sportsmanship. So
someone's going to fall along the way, right?
But that's like the hardest part with it. But it's a combination of, like, we're always on the lookout for those stories that hit the media, and kind of have like the keyword search sportsmanship. And when you see something come across, you put it in the binder, and then we get to a certain point in the year, and we look at what we got and say, okay, what's going to work? And then we'll get nominations too through the Musial Awards website. And every once in a while, there'll be like a diamond in the rough there. Yeah. Somebody sends something in, and it's like, this is perfect. We're so glad somebody like called our attention to this. So it's a combination of all that, and sometimes you really have to dig deep. Yeah. And then there's other times where you can't miss it. Everybody's seen it. I love that. The hard part with those stories, getting them, is you're reaching out to them where people that like very private lives are all of a sudden thrust. Totally,
because the people that come, you see how reserved a lot of these people are, because like they're not doing these things to get a story out of it. They're not doing these things to be the spotlight of. They're not like doing this good deed or whatever that may be.
Often it's spontaneous, so they have no time to even
think
about that. It's what came natural to them.
Right. Which is just, I think, an incredible opportunity and show that you're able to give these people the flowers that they deserve. But there's a lot of stories out there that happen, and these are just a few that you're highlighting each year. But I think that like there's things that happen that we need to do more to shed light on, especially in the world of sports these days, where little league sports and rec sports, like more than ever, like we all know, like there's some crazy parents out there, and there are some crazy instances where there's a lot of things that happen that aren't good, and you're like, that's just not the way that sportsmanship and like kids sports and raising men and women like to be good people. This is like, there's a lot of not great examples out there that kids see all the time. Yeah. But at the same time, there's just as many great examples that just aren't getting the recognition, because some of those crazy stories you see like parents fighting an umpire or whatever, and the video will go viral or whatever. But the ones that you don't see all the time are the ones where, on the other side, where somebody goes down on the field and they're doing CPR to bring them back to life, like doing things that really make a difference. And I think the Musial Awards is like you said, there's nothing like it, at all.
And to your point, there's kind of two pieces that you want to have happen out of this. Is one, just people walking out of the theater or after they watch the show on TV. It's like, just feel inspired, feel good about humanity. It just reinforces that there is good out there. But I also hope, like, to your point about the not so good stuff you see, is just like, we just want to change perspectives. It's like, you don't have to be that person who's at the Little League game shouting at the poor 13-year-old umpire or referee. It's like, let's pull back and think about what we're doing here, and kind of remind ourselves like what's right, what's important, how we treat each other. And that's just the thing I hope we can drive home, is just like restoring some perspective on things. And you talk about youth sports, that's a podcast,
a whole nother
in itself. And what can be done and so forth. But really, it's just kind of thinking about just like restoring those perspectives to making sure we're prioritizing what's most important, and thinking about how we behave and what we can do to make the experience better for everybody.
Do you think that's the most rewarding thing for you when it comes to Music Awards, or what would you say is the most rewarding thing when the event passes and you take a step back and look? How are you judging your own personal feedback on the event?
Yeah.
Or what moves you the most? And there's probably not one right answer at all.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like being their show night and the audience's reaction. That like
so genuine.
When somebody goes up there and there's the standing ovation. It's just the reaction that what our staff, our organization has created. When you can put that, it's like somebody. I mean, if Ben were here, it's like somebody reacting to great food.
Yeah.
Or somebody that puts together a Broadway production of how the audience reacts to that. It's the same thing with our show, I believe, that's really invigorating, is when you're sitting there and you can get a sense that people are sort of sucked in and enjoying it. That's the gratifying piece. And the other one, too, is, and I give Amanda Ryan, my colleague, who directs the Musial Awards for us, kind of oversees all aspects of getting the event together. I give her a lot of credit for this, is when our guests come to town and they just live out everything you think about it, but they don't know us, and now they come here.
Right.
And it's back to what we talked about with the fans at the beginning, left with such a great impression.
Yeah.
That they don't know what they're getting into coming to the Music Awards, but they leave
with a whole
blown
different
away
perspective
and wowed, whether it's about St. Louis or about the event.
Right.
And so the niceness is what also is really gratifying. Is okay, you see, it's like I think back to the little leaguer that got hit in the head on the pitch a few years ago, and then he went down to first, realized pitcher was shaken up. He goes and gives him a hug.
Yeah, exactly.
Just walks from you never see that.
Right.
Kid goes from first base to the pitcher's mound.
Right.
Gives him a hug. And that was the example of getting thrust into a national spotlight as, everyday person.
Right.
And what they had to deal with. They somehow said yes to coming in for the Musial Awards, allowing us to honor Isaiah. And, then they come and they're as nice as can be and as appreciative as can be.
Yeah.
That's the best. You mentioned the Cody Dorman story,
Yeah.
Cody's wish. And again, just those families say, hey, gosh, we had Cody's parents here 2 weeks after he passed away. I'm going to cry.
Right. It's things you can't even explain.
And how appreciative they were. It's, you could go on and on and on. And then to forgive the long answer, but me think about all this too is again, like I think we get more out of those interactions with the sort of everyday heroes versus the iconic athletes per se.
Right.
But it's also really meaningful. Salvador Perez, the Kansas City Royals catcher, was here last year. And he got it from the beginning.
Such a simple
that's
thing,
another moment of Salvi walks in, and we're Amanda and I are doing our rehearsal with all the honorees. I look over and he's over in the side of the theater, and he's got this big grin. He's just so happy to be there, and he got the musial connection. It was all meaningful to him.
Yeah,
and that's what stuck out last year is looking over, seeing Salvi with this big smile, and him living up in every way that you thought he might be based on what you read and heard about the guy.
To the award that he's about to get.
Yes. So when these guys and women come through with how you want them to be and how you hope they would be, that's really special.
It's like one of those things where they say don't ever you never want to meet your hero or whatever, because you don't know how they're going to be in person, and they're not, maybe they're going to be different, but that's the thing. You see that these people are who you are seeing.
Yes.
Like Salvi, great. These are genuine people.
Yeah.
And I think
that goes back to Stan, if I may say.
Yeah.
Just because that's the ultimate example is when you met Stan, he was everything that they told you he was.
Yeah. And you can see how passionate, obviously, you are about this, the joy that it just brings you talking about this event specifically, because and then maybe I'm just making assumptions, but obviously we talked about all the cool events, right? The NCAA championships that you guys work to bring here, the partnerships with the Olympics and the figure skating. But it seems as if like this certainly is why you do what you do. Like it all kind of boils back down to the Musial Awards because it overall embodies everything that we've talked about sitting here with St. Louis community, being good people and being just being a good source of light for everything that's crazy in the world right now.
Exactly.
And it seems like that really is a big part of people don't understand that's what the St. Louis Sports Commission is doing is really making a difference in, yes, it ties back to sports, but we say it all the time, like it's so much bigger than sports.
Right.
So I think that it's, if people haven't had a chance to go to the Musial Awards, it's, you explain it well, but I don't think there's any good way to explain it. I think you have to experience it.
Yes.
And I think that I brought my wife, a few years ago for the first time, and she hadn't been. And now every year it's like we can't miss this because it does move you. It does really change your perspective on. There's a lot of people going through a lot of rough things out there. And there's a lot of people that make the most of really bad cards that they've been dealt over time, but they still somehow find a way to find a sense of joy in what they're doing and pass it forward to other people that are out there.
Yeah.
So I think that's incredible. I think obviously everything that the Sports Commission does is changing for St. Louis for the better. And I think that it's only just the beginning of obviously what you guys are doing. I know we'll wrap up here in a couple minutes or so, but
thank you for all that.
Yeah, no, I again, we really appreciate what we like to highlight the people that are Jewish in St. Louis and making a difference and in a position to really make a difference. And I think, again, a lot of people know Marc Schreiber, but a lot of people don't know the behind the scenes of Marc and really the type of I think everybody that comes across you knows and can see that you're a good, genuine person and you're getting exactly what you think you're getting when you sit down and have a conversation with you. You're gonna put your time and effort and give your time and effort to things that you're passionate about, and you're not gonna half-ass something. You're gonna push to make sure that it's a success or that you're changing something to leave an impact somehow, some way, whether it's through the Sports Commission, whether it's you as a person. And I think that, it's incredible. And I think that you are the reason we like to sit and do stories like this is just because we're everyday people. Jewish people are everyday people that are in certain roles where we can make a real difference and have each other's back. And it's the values and the morals that we can kind of stick together just for one greater good.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you look forward to, or what's the ultimate goal for you, I guess, as far as like, here's where we've really made it?
Yeah. But just to your point that you said, going back to the Judaism part, is sort of the repair the world, leave the world in a better place. Like that's what I think we all want to do for St. Louis, especially. It's like that's what drives us. Is we have tremendous sense of pride in this place, in our community, and want to do all we can to get it to meet its full potential. And that's the whole thing. It's like from a Sports Commission standpoint, and from just my part leading the organization, it's like trying to just do our part, what we can, to leave St. Louis in an even better place than kind of where we started. It's a hard thing, and we're trying, but that's the other part of your question. Like where, kind of, what do you want to see happen? That that's it, is to get it, where like the stuff that we fret about locally
It's gone.
is gone.
Yeah.
Is, that we can feel great about this place, and it's, a place where people can be successful, and we have growth.
Yep.
And it's a strong market, and I think those of us that grew up here, we came back for a reason. We want to be here.
Yeah.
And we want to expand that to where truly this is the place we want to be.
I think it's awesome. I'll ask you this. Mm-hmm. Do you think my Hoosiers have a chance to win the national championship this year? Oh, come on, man.
My mom would not be happy with that answer because she's an IU alum.
Is she really?
As well. I was blown away by the game at Penn State.
It's unbelievable.
That is a sign of a truly outstanding team.
Yes.
That could probably have not been playing at its best for most of that game, but found a way to win. I mean, you're really good when you find a way to win.
Yes.
Which is what they did. And so, I don't know, national championship, that is
it's a big one.
To that point is a tall order. I mean, I'm amazed that they're number 2 in the nation, not because they don't deserve to be, but to think Indiana football is number 2.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
As a basketball school for all these years, and just like I think it shows the difference in like in the day and age that we're in of the NILs. That's a whole nother conversation, but I think it's like traditions and everything. I think of certain colleges are more so kind of going out where it's like, no matter where you're at or who you have, certainly it depends on the leader leading you. And Signetti's a great coach, but I think it's like you can build a team of people that are like all in it for the same reasons. And like, there's that sense of like, it's our time that just like, you find a way, man. It's like, I talked to my dad and Tom Ackerman, and like, it's for so long, Indiana has been on the other side of kind of like, more or less getting screwed not getting screwed, but like screwing themselves at the end of a game, or like you can't hit the shot. Like we've lost it for ourselves for years. Like
they start out 6-0 and end up 6-6.
Exactly, and it's like I think now is like it's fun to see like this is our time a little bit, and like we're finally getting thrown a little bit of a bone from like our own accomplishments and our own like actions of just building a good team. And I don't, no matter how you look at it, it's a fun team to watch. That Penn State game was unbelievable. I mean, I think that there's no reason after that drive, unless something crazy happens to end the season, that Fernando Mendoza doesn't win the Heisman. It's like you drive the team down the field in 48 seconds or whatever it was. It's like, then it makes you think, well, why the hell can't you drive them down every drive in 48 seconds? It's like something turns on. It's like Tom Brady-esque, but it's like, I think it's exciting to watch, and, we'll see what happens with it.